Hi guys, welcome to Ecclesia number 14. Hope you had a great April and we look forward to get started. We are excited for mainnet. There are things that actually let me not show the screen yet. So we're very excited to have you guys to talk to you guys after a couple of weeks absence. I know we had to do the AMA. We wanted to do the AMA last week, but because we merged chain fee and configuration, which is for the mainnet. Those latest changes caused a lot of changes in the front end, and we needed to fix those. And so that's why we had to postpone the AMA to today so that we can release the apps. So we're excited about releasing Vault, Blimp, and Chimney. Now, since there actually, I was just looked at the AMA questions. There are quite a few questions, so I may not be able to go through all the apps today, but I'll show you where you can look at them and try them out. And Tiago should be able to help on the Telegram channel if you guys have any questions. And we have Discord as well, so I think it's good to have these discussions on Discord as you test the apps. We look forward to your feedback. So very, very excited to get these apps out so that we get feedback. We make some changes within a couple of weeks and should be able to get rolling when we launch mainnet. Now, I wanted to kind of talk about where we are on our schedule. So let me bring up the screen that you probably first saw. So let's see. Okay. So as you can see, I mean, we have, I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if you can blow up the screen a little bit. No. Okay, that's better. Okay, so so as you can see, we expect the two critical items is the two-phase commit, which we're making very good progress. We expect to finish by mid-May. The MPT bug is we're fixing it. We fixed a couple of bugs, as you probably saw during the every week we're providing updates on that. It's a tricky bug because, and it also takes long to kind of realize where the bug is or find the bug, because we only find it when we do load testing and chaos testing, which may not happen in reality, but we need to make sure that our mainnet is robust. So that we expect we'll continue testing and fixing the MPT related bug till the end of the month. In terms of timeline, as you can see, we released the Atlas Bolt. We made significant changes and corrections to those apps, so you should be able to see them when you go to those sites. And then we're releasing today Vault and Blimp, and then we will release Chimney. We're gonna do a soft release of Chimney today, but it's not ready yet. Probably in the next couple of days it'll be ready. So we're saying we will release it next week. And Chalk is also slated for release next week. We'll see, it may push to probably May 18th. Okay, so our focus is really on these 5 apps that we are releasing, and that's what we want to make sure that we are ready to go to mainnet. The Chalk app should, is basically something that we want to release before mainnet as well, because NFT is, as you know, is 90% of the transactions are NFT related, so it gives us a lot of leverage when we talk to blockchains and layer ones. Then we will release the mobile and the desktop. apps related to Bolt and Vault because we have those platforms for those applications. We do not have mobile or desktop for the other apps, only for Bolt and Vault, because they're consumer related. The other ones we expect it to be more enterprise. Now, in terms of hackathon, we will start conducting hackathon end of May, even prior to mainnet, because we will have a test net that people can use and conduct, write code or develop on Zeus platform or using Zeus network. So that's basically on the app side, and then on the load test side, we expect the load test to be done by next week, and if all goes well, we will start the active set testing mid-May or just after mid-May, May 18th, and then we expect also with the load test to finish up on the benchmark test that will be incorporated in our CI/CD releases. So we expect, we will do the influencers probably end of the May. That's our target. In fact, we'll go ahead with it because we're gonna release all these apps prior to that. And then we have ZeroBox HA is highly available, so it's basically a scaling platform that we want to do prior to mainnet, so that we can support all these apps. We can scale to 1 million users. So we're done with the fee, we're done with the configuration, we're done with blocks. There are 65 issues, which I'll go through in a moment, that we have. We expect it to kind of go down. Now, the reason, we have so many issues, we haven't gone down significantly, is because we added about, I think, 30 or 40 issues. So we expect that not to happen. Now all the apps are functional and they're out, so there is less of a churn on the back end. So we expect the number of issues to remain at 65, and then they will dwindle down to 0 by May 31st. Even if there are few issues added, we expect most of the issues to be covered. It's really the zero chain MPD bug that I think is the long pole in terms of going to mainnet. All right, so let me show the issues. So as you can see, these are some of the issues. There are some in progress, a couple of them done. There are some in review. So if you look at the category, if I were to do a filter on review, there's about eight in review, which means they're done. It just needs to be reviewed and merged. And then so if you look at the in progress ones, there's about 21 in progress. So there's about 30 out there that are close to getting finished. And then we expect, we have 65, right? And if you look at some of them, like about 15 of them are essentially more on the test side. So we expect, most of it will be done by end of the month. That's our current, time frame. All right. So let's go back to, so now I'm gonna talk about the apps. So if you look at the apps, so we'll start with Bolt. I just did some testing. The demo network was just released, was just updated, sorry, was updated yesterday. So you have to use a new wallet and everything. So you have to create a new wallet. And so all the transactions that you had were all deleted because the whole network was redeployed with clean database. So as you can see, this is the Bolt wallet, which is demo.bolt.holdings. We released it in April, so you can go back and take a look at it. In terms of Atlas, it's also in demo.atlas.cloud. You will see most of the data is basically fixed, so it should reflect everything correctly. There are still few fixes. There will be always bugs, so there are a few fixes that we have identified that we need to do. Most of them are essentially trivial. It's just a communication between backend and front end, but it's just that there are a lot of number of issues that people are working on, so some of them didn't get fixed by the time we released the apps today. Vault is, so I just played around with Vault a minute ago before the AMA. It's working fine. You can upload, pictures, photos, and you can look at them. These are things that I uploaded recently, is my screenshots of bugs that I found while testing them. So I send it to the developers to take a look. You can see the file details. That it's in the network. You can see the hash. You can, if there are write markers, you can actually take a look at them on Atlas. So this is where you can basically have whatever you upload is recorded essentially with the markers on the chain as an activity that's been done. You can also look at the activities that are done here, right? Uploaded this successfully 17 minutes ago, as it said. Just before the AMA, I uploaded some stuff. Same thing actually in Bolt. You can look at the activity like 22 minutes ago, just before the AMA. I just played around with the app, right? And by the way, all these apps use the same phone number, and you can log in to it and be able to use all the apps. The next app I want to talk about is Blimp. The Blimp is very similar to Vault, except it has, and you will see the same kind of format in the dashboard. Like if I go to direct storage, if I go to home, you will see the same kind of format. But if you click here, direct storage or S3 server, it basically goes through a workflow where you choose your allocation, and then the direct storage is basically directly storing on Zeus. Whereas S3 server and cloud migration is something you need to set up a proxy server that would pipe the data from that server to Zeus. And this is primarily for enterprises. It's a decentralized S3. So Blimp is a decentralized S3 product that will enable, with no code change, to send it to an S3 server that's decentralized. And the way you make you do the S3 server is basically you go through this workflow, you confirm, and then it will go through the workflow, which for some reason it's not appearing. But you need there it is. Okay, so you need a server, so you need to enter the allocation name. You can choose the pricing and so forth, and then it will go through the allocation process, create allocation. I'm not going to go through it because I want to go through quickly about the other apps. But basically, you create the allocation, and then you have a script where you generate a script where you would need a server to run the script. So it's a one-click operation. You take the script and you run it. And this is something, what we'll do is do a video of it. I've asked my videographer to do a video so that we can show you how easily it can be done. And then you can just follow the video. So that's for S3 server. Cloud migration is the same thing. You basically choose your allocation. Once you design your allocation, and the allocation, as I said, can be done again, with cloud, you choose, let's say I'm doing a cloud migration, I confirm, I choose the allocation, I can design it the way I want. I may say, okay, I want like two, 5 data shards, like, or and then 10 or 9, right? It could be at 2/3, so 6 data shards, 3 parity shards, and I designed that allocation with the proper right price. I confirm it into the allocation name. So let's say this is, let me see how much time I have. Okay, let's see if we can just go through S3 server, 5 GB, so you can choose, different. So confirm. Oh, not enough. Oh, we don't have enough blobbers. So let's do this 2, 3, or yeah, let's see, because we don't have enough blobbers on the network. So okay, so these are the available blobbers. So now I can add these blobbers to my allocation. So now this is basically a way you can design your multi-cloud. So this is the powerful aspect of having being able to design a hybrid cloud or a multi-cloud with Blimp, right? You design your own cloud. You can choose your own server. So let's say this blobber is yours. You choose it, right? You say, okay, I'm gonna add this guy, right? And so forth. So you can add so it basically brings whatever available, and then you add these blobbers, and then you confirm, and that's where you create the allocation. And the next step of the process is deployment, where you deploy the code, and it's a one-click operation, right? If you have a server, you can deploy the code. We give you the script. You basically copy the script and you run it on your terminal of the server, and you're done, right? So that's basically Blimp. You set up the S3 server. You can have as many S3 servers. You can manage them. When you go to settings, you'd be able to manage S3 servers. You can manage cloud migration servers. Okay. I'm gonna quickly go through chimneys before I get to the AMA questions. So for chimney, you do the same thing. You log in. This is chimney.software. So again, Blimp is demo.blimp.software. Chimney is demo.chimney.software. You go through the same setup. I haven't had time to go through it, but let me see if I can. I probably won't have time, but you guys can go through it. It's a similar setup. It's the same kind of workflow where you deploy a script on the server, and it joins the network, and you are able to see the dashboard in terms of how much you're earning. Let me see if I can quickly do this. Okay. It'll probably ask me to create a wallet. Okay, so today for one phone number, you're basically asked to create different wallets. So I'm not gonna go through this now because this will take time. But I want to move. But basically, you guys can try it out and see how it works, and give us feedback. Okay. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to the AMIC questions. I thought the questions were, the AMIC questions were pretty good. I just looked at it, so I want to spend some time talking about the questions. Okay. Can you guys see this? Let me see 1 second. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so let's talk about the questions. By the way, before I get into that, the chimney, chimney and Blimp, you might wanna test it out probably in 1 or 2 days, because as I said, we are making some changes to the back end, and it's better if you wait for a couple of days. You can talk to Tiago. He's testing the app as we speak, so maybe guys should wait until Tiago gives you the word to test it, and he can help you with the process. We can also provide some servers that you can try out probably if you don't have a server of your own. So, okay, so let's go through the first question. What is the team's current financial rate? How long can operations continue at this level or increase as anticipated before the next funding raise? So, in general, as with any startup, right? And by the way, if you look at our history, we survived for 5 years with three downturns. We had a downturn in 2018, as you all know. The crypto market crashed, and then we had a downturn because of COVID. And then the third downturn was very recently. Actually, we are still going through this downturn in the crypto market, but it's primarily, with inflation and all that. It has affected inflation, banks, regulatory actions have kind of put a damper on the crypto market. So whenever you run a business, you want to make sure that you financially can continue for the long run. And long run is usually 12 months in my mind. So I generally make sure that we can continue for 12 months. And so with the key individuals that we have. So for me, that's always the case, regardless of whether we raise funding or not. Now, in order to accelerate development, you need to raise funding. That's pretty much a given. In order to raise funding, we need to accomplish some goals. And the first goal we want to accomplish is mainnet, delivery of mainnet. And that's coming together very nicely. Delivery of the apps, which is, as you can see, we have opened it up for feedback. And I don't anticipate any problem with the apps because they're fairly straightforward. The only long pole is, as I mentioned, the MPD bug, which takes a little longer to debug and get it done. But other than that, I don't see any problem going to mainnet or be mainnet ready by end of the month. It may go into June, but if we have very high level of confidence, it's not a going to mainnet won't be a big deal because we have already proven that it works. It's just the question of when we turn on the mainnet. So at that time we can decide, okay, we will wait for some marketing event to go to mainnet, but it could happen. It could happen pretty much at any time we complete most of the critical issues, the two critical issues. The other issues are something that we wanna close before we go to mainnet. So the ones that we're working on are the ones we want to close. The other, I would say, half of the 65 issues that you saw are, I would say, we want to close, which is what we are working on. They're in progress. The other half, some of them are more related to system tests, and some of them are small issues that we can probably fix later on. Okay, so second question. You mentioned an equity raise in previous AMA. It's not exactly a good time to get funding. How long can you go without additional funds? I believe it's the same question as the first one, except worded differently. There's never a great time to raise funding. Obviously, in the bull market, you want to raise because you get a higher valuation. But for us, we don't necessarily, we don't necessarily need a significantly high valuation because our cost is very low. We are a lean operation. We're a very flat organization. So we don't need that much money to continue operations. We are global. We have a very low cost development activity globally, and we have an excellent team. And so I don't, there's always, obviously you want to raise during the bull market, but it depends on how much you want to raise and how much do you need. We don't need that much. So I think, I don't know if that answers your question or not. And in terms of how long can you go without additional funds, as I said, I always keep 12 months in the horizon. Okay. And we always have planned to get revenue. There are additional plans to get revenue, even if we don't go to mainnet. See, the apps that we have, the 6 apps and the SDK, they're all revenue generating platforms, but they can only generate revenue if we go to mainnet. But we have other mechanisms of getting revenue, and that's something that we can talk about later on as things unfold. Okay, question. I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay, I think I blew it up. So, okay, so third question. SEC seems hell-bent on taking down crypto. What is the plan if this course of action continues? SEC will do what SEC does. They currently, their viewpoint is every crypto is a security. That's not necessarily the case, but they don't see it that way. They need to be educated, and I'm doing the best I can. Basically, we will do the best we can to educate them, and it's the nature of the business. I don't think there is anything different from what they're doing to other crypto companies. I think they're being pretty universally. They're basically universal in terms of taking down any crypto. Now, how are we different? I think if you look at what we are offering is quite different from any other cryptocurrencies because it has a lot more utility than any of the other currencies. If you look at Bitcoin, if you look at Ethereum, we have a lot more utility. So I think our case is a lot stronger than any of the other crypto. So and they haven't seen really the storage aspect of it. They haven't seen the storage, which is a physical aspect of the crypto, which hasn't come to the real world yet. I mean, we have some decentralized storage projects out there like Filecoin and RV, but I don't know what actions they have taken with them, but storage is a little bit different category, so they cannot lump everything in one category. NFT is also in a different category. I would say some of the ones that are pretty clear that their securities are probably like the DeFi products, and the recent actions are primarily due to what happened with FTX. So it's a reactive way of looking at the entire category, which is not correct. It's just that they're not aware of other things that are going on in the crypto world. So we just have to come up with valid arguments. If you look at our token, it meets the Howey test very well, and we will litigate if it comes to that. Okay, question number 4. I completely understand this is a new tech and there has been many hurdles along the way. That being said, there is a ton of frustration among the community with dates being given and not even close to being hit. What is your current and most pessimistic idea of when you can launch a full product and apps to market? Well, there is a lot of frustration because we're not able to hit the milestones that we set out to. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One, our workforce is global, and with different time zones, it does make things a little bit tricky to get people together to accomplish something that requires multiple people. let's say if you want front end, back end, DevOps, architecture, all of those elements need to line up to solve a problem. So that's the problem with having a global workforce, is that you're not always there, and so you're not all in sync. So it does take some time to sync up, and that's what the delay, sometimes that delays, right? Or people taking time off or vacation, or being sick, that throws everything off, because we don't have backups, right? We have, everyone is like, on a project, and they need to do their part because there's nobody else to do it for them if they're sick. So sometimes that delays the overall schedule, and it's a complex product. Even the apps. If you look at the apps, we added a simple thing, which is transaction fee. By the way, that simple thing took us 3 months to do it on the back end. But then after we merged the code, everything, all hell kind of broke loose on the front end, because it wasn't accommodated during our initial development. Because when you develop initially, it was transaction fee was zero, because it made it easy to develop. So now that change hit us, and it took us a few weeks to get it done, and pretty much had to revamp all the apps on the front end to accommodate the transaction fees. So something simple can really disrupt your schedule, which you didn't anticipate. Why didn't we anticipate? Well, we expect this merge not to cause too many problems, because it passes system test, but it does, and that's the way it is. In terms of pessimistic idea when you can launch a full product and apps to market, we did launch these 5 apps, and for us, these 5s are essential. Chalk, we can delay the offering after mainnet, so it's not essential to be mainnet ready. But the other five apps, we needed to be mainnet ready, because they are, significant for adoption of our platform. In terms of when our pessimistic idea, I think pessimistically, all the apps are out. If you guys give us feedback within a few days, we take a couple of weeks, I would say the apps would be ready. Right now, the only thing that would delay us is the MPD bug, and the question would be, would we release it with a known bug that we know we can fix down the road, or do we wait? And those are the decisions we need to make. Okay, so I think I've spent quite a bit of time on that. Question 5, what have been your biggest learnings in the process of building Zeus? What would you have done differently? If you look at some of the other platforms like Ethereum or Filecoin, they built they did only one thing, which is their network. They didn't do any of the ecosystem apps. Now, the reason we did it this way, built out these 5 apps, is because we needed the ecosystem to be active in order for the platform to be useful. If you look at Ethereum, and Filecoin, they had a lot of prior, I would say, prior connections in the industry to enable people to build on their platform. We didn't get that much support elsewhere to have other people build on our platform. So we pretty much were forced to build these ecosystem apps. I think we sent out feelers, I think in 2018. There were a couple of people building here and there, the S3 stuff. But none of them were serious about it. So we decided to build it because at the end of the day, it benefits the network if you have these apps, these initial apps. Now, did that distract us? I would say there is probably a little bit of distraction, but you want to make a complete product so that an ecosystem. It's sort of like how Apple, came later and took over the MP4 industry, and there were a lot of MP4 players, but Apple provided a solution that people can use and use easily, and that's what we've been trying to do. For the last year, we've been building these apps, these six apps, and the people who are building the apps cannot really help out on the blockchain or the smart contract. So we have only a few people that can really help out or figure out the issues with the blockchain. So, and that takes time. If you look at Filecoin, if you look at Ethereum, if you look at Bitcoin, it took some time for them to do those things. So I don't know, in terms of how we could have done differently. I don't know if I had, I would have done anything differently. Maybe, we did expand, we did have a bigger team to do a bunch of stuff. And, I think in hindsight, it's probably a good thing we did all these apps because now it's a very powerful and useful network. Otherwise, if you look at Filecoin or Definity, there are not that many apps that can really use it. Even Polkadot, if you look at Dot, they're basically dependent on other people building apps, and that takes years. I mean, it took us a year to build all these 5 apps, or 6 apps. So yeah, I think we talked about that. So question 6, what are the current issues holding up launch, and where does this team stand with addressing them? So there are really 2 issues. One of them is being sorted out, the two-phase commit, which makes the robustness of data and integrity of data very, very good. I don't think there's anything better than what we have done in terms of our two-phase commit protocol. It's very well-known protocol standard, but that's used in the traditional world, which we applied to the decentralized world, which makes it a little bit difficult because decentralization, always makes things difficult. So it's not a easy fit, easy thing to do, easy protocol to do. So that's something we did at the end because we realized that we wanted to make sure that our data is good. Whatever you store on Zeus is very robust. So we're quite happy with where we are on that. And the other bug is the MPT bug. That's a bug that we need to fix. It's something that we want to fix it. It only happens when things go down. So during chaos testing, so if there were no chaos, the chaos implies that the miner and sharders goes down. Lots of miners and sharders go down dramatically and then come up, and then you have to kind of recover the state, and that this happens only when we do these load test and chaos scenarios. So we're looking into that, and we need to fix it before we go to mainnet. So that's the only issue that's holding us up. Okay, question 7, is BNB a threat to Zeus? I haven't looked at BNB Greenfield. I know there has been talk about it. We don't look at anyone as a threat if we do our job and we do it really well. If you look at the cloud industry, there is probably 50 vendors out there, but there's only one AWS, right? So I don't think we and AWS has the largest market share, and this Azure and Google Cloud has caught up a little bit, but still AWS is the big guy on the in the market. So I think they have over 60% market share, which is significant, considering Azure and Google Cloud are significant competitors, but they can't break in. So if we do our job well and we continually innovate with several features, which I don't think BNB Greenfield can compete with. I don't think anybody can compete with in terms of private data sharing, in terms of speed of our network. So those are things that they can't compete with. And the other question is, in terms of participants, right? Where are the servers located? We believe that our network is going to be more accepted and in the Europe and US, and so we expect that to be the primary network where people go to. There will be always competition. You can't really prevent competition. It's a big market. A big market will have competitors. It's a good thing that Binance did. That actually validates the market. Otherwise, why would they go after storage market? And then there's a need. It validates the market. It validates the need. They're going after NFTs. Today, you don't have video NFTs for a reason, because none of the networks can store it and have a high performance. That's something we can deliver today. Can BNB Greenfield deliver? I don't know. Do they have something similar to Chalk? I don't know. If they have, then we have to look at it side by side, as a customer would do. A customer would have to choose between, solutions. At the end of the day, they look at solutions. And if we deliver all the solutions that we are proposing, I think, and we are first to the market, I think we get the lion's market share. Question 8. You keep mentioning that team closes 20 issues a week and seems to base timelines with expectations 0 new issues will be found and opened. That doesn't seem realistic at all and has probably led to missed timelines. If I look at GitHub, for issues not labeled post-mainnet, you're only down 5 issues in the last month. That puts us pace months away, right? That is true. You don't expect new issues to crop up, but for whatever reason they do. But I think right now, like for instance, the fee created a lot of issues. So I would say about 10 to 15 new issues that we had to close. So as things get more finalized, like as we get closer to mainnet, closer to all the apps being released. As you can see, we have released 5 apps. The only app that's not released is Chalk. We expect very few issues, if any. So we don't anticipate. And when I talk about issues, I mean these are like back-end issues. So we want to reduce the. We don't expect that many issues going forward. So we're closing 20 issues per week. So even if the 65 issues were to increase to, let's say, 80, we expect that to be done by end of the month. And some of the issues, as I mentioned, some of them are system test. So we add these issues as well. We create a new system test. That doesn't mean that we're not gonna go to mainnet, if we have some system tests left. We'll probably can do mainnet and release mainnet while those system tests are being included in the CI/CD. So in terms of the pace, I still believe we can complete all of them in this month, and we are targeting end of this month, if we are aggressive, or sometime in June. So that's pretty much our assessment based on what you see. I don't want to be pessimistic because that's neither here or there. I look at the data, and based on the data, I give predictions. I cannot expect new issues to crop up, and that's not how you know. I mean, you could create a buffer. You could say, okay, we'll probably do June because there will be new issues. We'll close them, and then we will release mainnet. But as I mentioned, half of the issues are something that are more test related. They're not critical issues, so we could go to mainnet if we can close the 30 issues that are in progress and that we are working on. If we close them, I believe we can go to mainnet. And the critical bug is really the MPT bug. So if you're confident about the MPT bug, that's gone away, we'll do more testing, then we increase that level of confidence that, what, we have load tested it, we have done chaos testing, and this MPT bug has not shown up yet, right? So if we do a week of testing, has the MPT bug shown up? If it has not, then we can go to mainnet. And how long do we wait for this test? So do we wait 14 days or 21 days for this load test to happen? Usually the MPT bug shows up within a day of testing. So the question is, how long do we wait for this load test and chaos testing to continue before we are 100% confident that the MPT bug is gone? So those are things that we need to determine, and I think we have plenty of time. We have end of the month to determine, is the MPT bug gone, right? Okay, number 9, are the critical issues put off to post mainnet? No, there are no critical issues that are going to be put off to post mainnet. How does this affect working product upon launch? So yeah, so definitely the critical issues will be taken care of. There will be some issues that'll be left, like for instance, on the client side. So there you will see a lot of issues that are on the client side, like Go SDK. There are a lot of issues on system tests. So those are not core issues. So anything to deal with the Blobber or repo or the zero chain repo would be taken care of. Okay, question 10. How does the blockchain in its current iteration differ from the blockchain that was going to go live in 2021? What are the main improvements, main changes, etc.? Yeah, so, in 2021, the blockchain wasn't stable. We didn't uncover the MPT bug for 1 year, until we did this recent load test with chaos. So it's all depends on how your test platform is. We are a test-driven organization in the sense that we release products but that are well tested. So we have to write very good test code or design test scenarios that will uncover these bugs. The load test with chaos is one way of doing it. And we didn't have that in 2021. We didn't do a load test chaos testing then. So everything was looking great, if there's a happy path. But sometimes you don't have a happy path and you want to test the worst cases because you want to make sure the blockchain is very robust. So the main improvement is really the robustness of the blockchain to make sure it's very, very robust. Because it needs to be, right? Because once you turn on the blockchain, it's there forever, right? So you don't want to anticipate the blockchain getting stuck or getting hacked. So those are the two things that we want to ensure that's not going to happen. So the stability is what we are really that we have improved. Okay, the next question. Can you please open the calculator and go through it with a plausible scenario for year 1? In the meantime, explain the steps for calculation of rewards. I realize there are a lot of variables, but I assume you have a best case, worst case, and base case. It'd be good to get clarity. I believe the calculator you're referring to is the earn calculator. So and that's for the blobbers, not for the miners and sharders, which is an active set, which is pretty simple. And I think we detailed that on the website as well. Okay, so let me go through that, but there's one last question. Will the apps have a dark mode? Yes, they will. all of the apps will have a dark mode. Okay, so let me go through. Okay, Gazoo's network. So if you look at the earn, okay, so if you look at the earn calculator, you will see that, right now, the price is 13 cents and it's negative. There's like 400 blobbers expected. Now, if you lowered this down, let's say I lowered this down to 300, I get an APR of 6%. Now, what that means is that there's less number of blobbers going after the rewards, which is 7.5 million rewards that's going to be given out in 1 year, approximately. So that's being divvied up. Now, if you go down even lower, so let's say 100, you see the APR jumps to 87%. So, so what will happen is that, when there's less blobbers, you get more return. As there are more blobbers, there is less return. But as more blobbers come onto the network, the price will increase because they will need tokens to stake. So generally what will happen in reality, of course, we're not live, so that's why this is kind of simulated. But in reality, what will happen is that as more blobbers come to the network, the price should increase. So as you see, if the price increases, let's say to 65 cents, then your return is very high. So what will happen is more blobbers will come to the network, right? Because there's more reward there. So basically you will have, the expectation is that it will normalize around 10% or about that 10-15%, right? So as you go through it, as the price increase, right, as more people come to the on the network, they want more tokens, so therefore the price has to increase. So let's say there are 2,000 blobbers, the price increases. So that's how it works. Basically, as you increase the number of blobbers, the price should increase because they're staking more and more tokens. Now, the reward stays the same. It's 7.5 million, and that's divided across all the blobbers. Now, on average, and the assumption that I've used is that, let's say I have the capacity is 100 terabyte server. The allocated capacity, which is the client's allocating space in my server, is 50 terabyte. But maybe they're not using all of it. They're using half of it. So the used capacity used in this assumption is 25 terabyte. Then this would be the amount of staked capacity on the network, about 330 petabytes. And if you look at Filecoin, I think they have like exabytes of staked capacity. But their usage is pretty low. It's around, I think, I think 30 petabytes or something. It's pretty low. We hope our usage to be much higher, like in the hundreds of petabytes. And then you will see the price really increase. Now, the assumption is that, rental price of 4 terabyte and so forth. And the assumption with the AWS price is 0.02, and so we factored in, okay, you're gonna discount your price by 50%. Of course, if you increase the price, you will make more, but then people may not come to your server, right? So the expectation is that our recommendation that you be half of AWS price. So this calculator takes into earnings the rewards that you're getting and also the price that you set for your storage the clients are paying. And you also get payment from validators. I don't think that's included here. So what's not included here is validator earnings. So the three ways you're earning. You're earning from the clients that are paying you to store the data at half the AWS price. And you're earning rewards from the network because you're storing data, and the rewards are based on 7.5 million tokens out there, and that's divvied up among the blobbers. Okay, so I don't know if that kind of explains how this whole thing works. So your earnings and return on APR is based on, in this calculator it's based on two things, but in reality it's actually three things. It's based on validated earnings, clients that's giving you, that's paying for your storage, and rewards that you're getting from the network. But there is no you can scale basically, because if you look at Chimney, we basically allow you to scale your servers. So you can scale as many servers as you want, and you can get the same type of revenue that, let's say, AWS has. If you have as many servers as AWS, you will get that level of revenue. So it's really up to you how you want to scale the business, because you want to cover your rental costs. So the rental cost, the assumption is $4 per terabyte per month for a 100 terabyte server. So so it really depends on your infrastructure costs, and so you have to weigh that with the how much your storage price is compared to AWS, and that's your earnings, and that's how all this is calculated. Okay. All right. I think we have exhausted all the questions. Let me go back. Okay. All right. And I don't see any more questions, except one of the questions, which is the same as the first one I answered. So so I think I'm very excited to try out all the apps. If you have a server or AWS instance, if a server or AWS instance, go ahead and use the Blimp app. So for Blimp, you need AWS because especially for the migration. For the migration, we only do migration for AWS. We only support AWS migration. But in terms of S3 server, you can use any S3 server. It can be on AWS. It can be on Azure, or it can be on a server on any data center. The idea is that if you compute in a traditional cloud, you can spin up an instance and use our Blimp software to pipe the data from AWS or any of the clouds to Zeus network. So it's designed to work with existing cloud. So that's the good thing about using Blimp for enterprise users. They don't have to necessarily go outside the box. And this is with no code change. You spin up an S3 server on your AWS, you do the compute on AWS, but you put the data on Zeus network, which I think is beneficial because you lower your cost, your CDN cost, you have more security, you have privacy, and you have better resiliency of data, you have better business uptime. So and that's what our if you look at the apps that we're doing, the hackathon we will do is for websites. Why not use all the websites, use Blimp to transform current websites into using Zeus, so make it unstoppable, right? So that's one. Make your apps unstoppable. Put all the data on our platform using S3 server. Backup all S3. Backup your database on S3. Use your build basically on our platform, and then use Zeus network for storing the data. So that's all I have today. I think we're used up the entire hour effectively. I think I didn't want to go beyond 60 minutes. So thank you very much for watching. Please use the apps and give us your feedback. And we look forward to incorporating your feedback and some of the things that you asked for, like the dark mode and all of that, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And The next AMA should be when we can release the Chalk app. So we'll look for that, and there will be other releases like for the mobile apps, for the desktop apps, that we will keep you guys informed. And for those, there won't be an AMA. There will be probably a video of how to do it and where to get those apps, so that you can effectively test them out. Okay. Till then, thank you for watching and thank you for your questions. We're very excited to release all these apps and look forward to your feedback. Thank you. Take care.